Is it getting recorded?
Yes.
Okay. Um, Good morning and good evening, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. First of all, thank you so much for taking out time on a busy weekend and joining us for this special session. I promise you that we'll get to learn a lot about North Korea today from people who follow it up close and have great expertise on the topic. My name is Abhishek Sharma, and I'll be moderating this session today. Just to give a brief introduction about myself, I'm a PhD candidate in Korean Studies at Department of East Asian Studies, Delhi University, and a research assistant at Observer Research Foundation, a think tank based in Delhi, India. Today, our session titled North Korea at the Crossroads, Human Rights, Military Alliance, and the Quest for Unification. We'll be discussing about many issues related to North Korea, some domestic and some international. All these issues will help us in making sense of what's going on in North Korea, what Kim Jong Un wants to achieve, and what lies ahead for the future of North Korea. I'm excited to announce and introduce our esteemed panelists who will be joining us, who have joined us to help make sense of what's regarding many of the questions which all of us have right now surrounding North Korea. So, to introduce our speakers, our first speaker is Mr. Hyun Seung Lee, who is a North Korea escapee and human rights advocate with expertise in international relations, business, and military affairs in North Korea. He has consulted for the US government and served as lead strategist at the Global Peace Foundation and the advisor to the Committee for Human Rights in North Korea. Prior to defecting in 2014, he worked in North Korean shipping and mining sectors and served in the DPRK Army Special Force. He contributes in media like Voice of America and NK News. Mr. Lee holds a Bachelor in International Trade from Hongdae University and an MPA from Columbia University. Our second speaker is Ms Seo Hyun Lee. She's a North Korean human rights advocate and cybersecurity professional. She earned a Master of International Affairs in cybersecurity from Columbia University's SIPA and has consulted for Human and North Korea's Human Rights Watch, recognized by the Bush Foundation and South Korea's Ministry of Unification. Ms. Seo Hyun Lee is fluent in Korean, Mandarin, and English, and is dedicated to advancing global policy and supporting North Korean human rights. On behalf of KRC, I welcome both our speakers for giving us their precious time, and also both of our speakers will be sharing their insights with the presentation, followed up by a question answer round. So please join us in welcoming speakers. But before giving the floor to our speakers, I'll just like to present some housekeeping rules. The presentation will be followed by a 15-minute question answer rounds. During the question answer, you can either raise your hands to ask question directly or type a question in the chat box if you prefer. Please note that the event is being recorded. Now I request both our speakers to take 15 minutes each to share their perspective on the North Korea issues. Over to you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee, thank you.
Thank you so much for having us today. So I'm gonna place on my. Do you see it? Okay. Let me just. Yes. Actually, this is my brief kind of introduction. If you guys want to learn more about my personal stories, you're more than welcome to watch my TEDx talk on its website. And I'm gonna introduce what I'm gonna mainly cover today. So I would love to talking about the recent human rights abuses in North Korea and how it impacts everyday life of citizens. So, in North Korea, the daily life is not only but deeply controlled with a system of oppression designed to limit freedom and silence voices and stripe away human dignity. One of the most glaring examples of these human rights violations is the existence of the political prison camps in North Korea. There are places where those who are seen as disloyal or simply as potential threats to the regime, they've been sent to the political prison camps along with their family members. So people live, born there, and die in these camps while being tortured and being conduct forced labors, and also at the same time starving there. So under the current Kim Jong-un regime, the severity and frequency of the punishments have increased significantly, adding to the oppressive weight, I would say, weight on the people. So my best friend, what I want to mention is that my was sent to a political prison camp back in the 2013, December 2013, when I was studying in China, because she was a daughter of the government officer who worked for the Kim Jong-un's uncle, Chang Song-taek. She personally never involved in violations of the like law or rules set by the regime. She was just a model student who study and pay the loyalty to the regime. And another example is that the three generations of my neighbor were also sent to political prison camps, including newborn babies, because the the grandfather was alleged for the activity that Kim Jong Un was not happy with. He assisted Kim Jong Un's the stepbrother Kim Jong Nam while he was visiting China, and that was the only reason. But those all like assistings were ordered by Kim Jong Un's father Kim Jong Il directly. But in Kim Jong Un era, due to his like personal dilemma and then the dissatisfaction towards the his stepbrother, he even ended up punished the people who are connected with Kim Jong Nam without any of those reasonable arguments. So I mean, I know if you haven't experienced these things like yourselves, it's hard to imagine how shocking and traumatic it is. Like suddenly lose beloved friends and neighbors all at once. So both my family and I like had to witness these kinds of tragedy repeatedly happening around us. Um, After Kim Jong Un took power, and it ultimately left us with no choice but to make this difficult decision to leave behind our homeland. So, before moving to the next point, I would like to share a video. Um, that's unfortunate. It doesn't allow the video for me, but um, to briefly mention, so just this year, it was reported that North Korean high school students were sentenced to 12 years of the forced labor for watching and sharing South Korean dramas. And this is like a start indicator of the states, escalating the control and punishment. Like under the Kim Jong Il, Kim Jong's father's era, I mean, there is a severe punishment were ongoing, but never ever sent those teenagers, like they are in their 14, 15, 16s. Those young students sent to 12 years forced labor at the detention camp. It never happened during the time. So, in North Korea, watching a K-drama, like sharing your lives of the thoughts freely on social media, or even simply like backpacking abroad, are all activities that could be seen as violation of the rule and endanger not only yourself but also lives of your family members. So, I mean, I know most of those activities I mentioned, you guys here there in India might take for granted, but this is something that like North Korean people would need to risk their entire family's life. So, and as you might know, my point is that there is like a complete lack of freedom of the expression. So, even the like simplest words or smallest criticisms are forbidden against the regime or the leadership, and any form of dissent is met with the brutal punishment. And citizens like they were brainwashed from their born, since they are born, and also citizens are forced to praise their leaders and sing government slogans and perform orchestrated displays of their loyalty daily basis. And I mean, and adding to that, the government surveillances compounds this oppression as well. So, for example, I lived in Pyongyang, but I'll say every day I lived with the fear with the fear that a single action or words I produce could put my entire family in danger. So, because every citizen, especially in Pyongyang, are watched, monitored, and scrutinized from very young age. And then with children, students, and all adults are under the constant eyes of the state. So probably you might know, but government controls all media, all platforms. They monitors the communications through your mobile phones as well, and also even um, have the have the children or the adults at their workplaces at the school write down what you've heard at home or speak at home or speak with your friends personally. So there is no privacy or sense of personal freedom at all in North Korea, and then there are only the constant fear that anyone, anything said or done, could lead to punishment. Um, so this is the a key highlights that I wanted to bring up to help you guys better understand the circumstances in North Korea, how those human rights violations are displayed daily lives and every aspect of the life of North Koreans, and then hopefully we can remember um, those courages of the people who are under the regime, and then also can help them amplify their voices, sharing their stories, and stand with them together. As we all fight for our life, they can. I mean, they can one day live without any fear and experiencing the um, rights and freedoms we often take for granted here in the freedom world. So yeah, that's all the points I prepared today, and I'm gonna place the presentation what Hyun prepared, and I believe you will love his presentation a lot. um, Let me stop. So Hyun, the floor is yours now.
Okay, guys. Thank you for joining on Sunday.
Sorry, Mr. Lee. Can you please also just make sure that the presentation slides are full? Thank you.
Yep. My name is Hyun Seung Lee. As you can see, I have those histories. I served in North Korean military for more than 3 years, and also a member of North Korean Workers' Party. And I also served as the chairman of the Korean Kim Il-sung Socialist Youth League in Dalian chapter. Recently, I co-founded with my sister of the North Korean Young Leaders Assembly in Washington, D.C. So for 2 years, I invited 10 North Korean escapees to educate them as a next future leaders. So mainly we are trying to educate them and prepare them to be next leader to influence the Korean policy in Washington D.C. and let them make a network. So it's basically, we were trying to grow our potential to prepare for the future. So today's topic, I was also very, inspired by your questions and then topic you sent, and I think it's very timely and it's very good topic because, in my opinion, the question Kim Jong Un's leadership style is the best element that you guys can understand North Korea. So what supports Kim Jong Un and why Kim Jong Un can assume the power, and what makes Kim Jong Un uh, run this country. So I would like to explain how Kim Jong Un controlled the society and what supports Kim Jong Un. So in 2011, Kim Jong Un assumed power after his father's death in December 2011. So,
Sorry to interrupt. We cannot see the slides.
okay, so
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I
can you?
give me one moment.
We can see the slides,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
not moving actually.
Yeah, present something else. Okay, that's what I noticed. I'm so sorry about that. I have no idea. Okay, do you
Yeah,
see it?
now we can see. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Kim Jong Un assumed power after his father's death in December 2011. Um, Many people viewed him as young and inexperienced, including myself, because Kim Jong Un didn't have a history with us. He didn't serve North Korean military. He didn't attend the college in North Korea. His information is nothing. But he was announced as a successor in 2009. But still, we only saw his face on public media, but he doesn't have any friends in the history. So we thought that he was inexperienced, but as you can see, quickly asserted control. Um, this was possible because Kim Jong Un's uncle Jang Song Taek and aunt Kim Kyung Hee supported his power for 2 years. So Kim Jong Un merely controls military for 2 years, but Jang Song Taek oversees everything, including economy and then diplomatic relations. So because of that reason, my sister explained briefly, and Kim Jong Un, purged his uncle. He felt threatened. I will explore more. Holding power. His rule builds on North Korea's foundational ideology of Juche, maybe briefly explaining its self-reliance. And then Sungun, which was founded by Kim Jong Un's father, the military first policy. So these ideologies form the core of the North Korean society and provide a game with the framework to maintain and legitimize his authority. So Kim Jong Un's leadership style is centered on absolute. Next slide, please. Kim Jong Un's leadership style is centered on absolute authoritarian control, which is very similar to his father. He has personalized the power around himself, building a strong cult of personality. By portraying himself as a bold and compassionate leader through state propaganda, he has entrenched himself as the replaceable core of the North Korean politics. So, North Korean in the politics and the entire North Korean system, the one man, the North Korean leader is the key and someone who has absolute power. Some people asked me several questions, like, in North Korea, they assume that some powerful family still controlling Kim and giving him advice. So it's not just the Kim Jong Un one man show, and it's more like a powerful family controlling the society, like other dictatorship in Middle East. It's not true. It's none of the families are influential in North Korea. It's all under one person's order and command, and everything is, you know, everything is permitted by this one leader. So I just want you guys know that no other families or powerful group to influence Kim Jong Un. It's more like a one-man show. And one of the Kim's main tactics, next slide, one of the main Kim's tactics for consolidating power has been elite purchase. As my sister briefly explained, her roommates, families, sent to the political prison camp. My friends, two of them also sent to the political prison camp. Only crime was he was the his grandfather's grandson. So his grandfather was one of the associates with Kim Jong Un's aunt Kim Kyung Hee, and the other one was Uncle Jang Sung Jaek's aide. So they are not affiliated with any crimes or like that, but they are still a member of the family. So North Korea executes three-generation punishment system. So because of the system, all members of the family are suffered once one of the family member committed crime, so-called crime against regime. So he has removed high-ranking officials. Kim Jong Un has removed high-ranking officials often, and even family members. And this strategy instills fear and ensures loyalty and remove any internal opposition. And imagine that we thought that Kim Jong Un cannot purge his families, but Kim Jong Un actually killed his uncle. So nobody felt safe in North Korea. Even the people who around Kim Jong Un nowadays, and they are living under fear, with fear. So by keeping this key like position fluid and purges, Kim Jong Un prevents any one individual from gaining too much influence and reinforcing his dominance within the elite class. Next slide. And Kim Jong Un reinforces his rule through tight ideological control. So he emphasizes 주체, which I explained before, which is self-reliance, and the Sungun military-first policy. So aligning himself with the legacies of his father and grandfather. So through an intense culture personality, Kim is portrayed in state media as both a powerful and dear leader. This creates a unifying the narrative that directs loyalty to him personally, limiting any ideological challenges to his rule. So none of ideology or religious freedom are allowed in North Korea. So only Kim family loyalty to the Kim family is allowed, and every component of state media and also our activity, even school and military, we are forced to contribute to the loyalty. So it may, we have every week we have a self-criticism session. So we gathered on Saturday every morning. Everybody, do self-criticism. And for example, if when I was student and I always said that I didn't study hard, and then it means that I lack loyalty to the regime. So I will study hard to present my loyalty to the regime. And when I was in military, I didn't do training well, and because I think I have to criticize myself, because that means any lack of activity means it presenting the lack of loyalty. So that is constant brainwashing that you have to understand the 아니 소연아. 어. 아니 그 presentation 왜 다 끝나? Sorry.
No, it's my absolute. I don't know what.
No.
Let me get
Go
back,
back to military one.
Yes.
Okay, sure. So the Kim, another strategy is Kim has aggressively pursued nuclear development, using it as both a security guarantee and source of national pride. So in North Korean propaganda and the Kim Jong-un's rule, the military control and nuclear development is the big issue, the core component of his rule. And the regime asks people to sacrifice for military development. The narrative is like this. So the United States, imperialists, and Japan and South Korea, the puppet of the United States, trying to invade our country and trying to take all from us. So to defend our nation, we have to develop nuclear weapon and the military, the military weapons. But we don't have many resources, and we also get sanctioned by the United Nations, United States. So we have to sacrifice ourselves to contribute everything to develop to defend our country. That's the narrative we have been educated, we have been taught for decades. But still, ask them people that this nuclear development as the national pride. So his military strategy involves positioning North and then deterring any threats. They portray the United States, Japan, and South Korea as a deterring any the outside external threats. So by doing this, he strengthens his internal standing and projects strengths to the outside world, solidifying his role as a protective leader for the nation. The fifth strategy that I would what is it?
I think that's
Sorry,
not
Mr.
the
Lee, you can
same.
continue.
Okay, sorry.
Next slide. Should I?
Yes, next slide, please. So, suppression of.
Yeah, can you please the mute Yuri from the organizers side?
Or I think that person should go.
Tornika, can you please remove this person?
Yeah, I am asked.
Yeah, I removed that person.
Thank you.
So yeah, controlling information is a key component of Kim's rule, and the regime restricts internet access and monitors information flows very rigorously. Through propaganda, the state creates a narrative that promotes self-reliance and resilience while demonizing external influences. This control keeps citizens isolated from the alternative perspectives, ensuring ideological control and limiting dissent. I've been asked several times that people assume that high-level officials and the elite class can access internet, but that's not true. And the cybersecurity lab, they identified a traffic from North Korea, so they assume there are people who can access internet which are the elite class. But as I said again, this is not true. And none of the elite class can access internet. The people who access internet are the agents who watch foreign media and then analyze foreign policy, and the agents from the hacking unit that conduct the malicious cyber activity. So those are people only can access internet, and they generate traffics. And some people said that, oh, there are some purchases, the purchases from Amazon and other platform, but I think it's not from North Korean side. It's for the like foreigners inside North Korea, and they generate the internet traffic, not just North Korean. Because I have many friends, even like from Kim family members, they don't have internet access, and I haven't seen anybody high-ranking official can access internet within North Korea. I mean, the outside when they travel abroad, they can obviously access internet, but it's not true. So the severe, and also every the devices in North Korea is taped by the North Korean regime, and even international phone calls are monitored by the North Korean regime. I often called to North Korea when I was in China doing business, and actually one of my high school friends worked for state security agency. So he talked to me that he listened to the phone call I had, and then he talked to me that give me some perspective that you shouldn't avoid using these languages when you talk to Israel international call. So I was surprised that every call I had was monitored and then taped by the regime. So that's how North Korean regime controlled the information um, within North Korea. And the final strategy is Kim Jong Un utilized economy as a tool to control people. And as you know, the North Korea's economy is self-reliance while tolerating limited informal markets. So the reason the regime allows some, black market and informal market because they cannot stop people making lives through the markets. If they stop the market, 장마당, and there will be normal people, to support regime, and there will be massive, grassroots movement against regime. So the regime, unintentionally allow the informal markets. And also, housing distribution is the key element for controlling society. And now, many people who are interested in North Korea, you will see Kim Jong Un, had lots of construction in North Korea and distributing luxury house to people. But this is entirely state controlled. The housing is entirely state controlled, and while government determine where citizens live. So this control serves more than just administration purposes. It's a powerful means of managing the population. Through selective housing allocation, the state can influence social status and population distribution. So the directing loyal citizens to more desirable areas while restricting dissidents to less favorable ones. So this allocation system strengthens the government's hold on society, ensuring that housing like employment and rations is a tool for enforcing the loyalty and the control. So finally, how Kim Jong Un managed the dissent and how Kim Jong Un controlled the elite class and the citizens. So to manage dissent, the regime employs range of tactics to maintain tight control of its population. These tactics ensures that any sign of opposition are addressed swiftly and preemptively, reinforcing the regime's stability. So surveillance is one of the core pillars of North Korea's dissent management. As I described earlier, even high-ranking officials inside their home, there was a taping and bugs. So many officials actually they spoke privately at home and got taped and then purged. And even people assume that the elite class enjoy lots of freedom, privileges. So I mean, they have some the resources available other than North Korean ordinary citizens, but still they're heavily monitored. So one of my friends' father was the president of the bank, and then he even for like several years he cannot even visit a restaurant because once he visited a restaurant he was monitored and then recorded. So he was trying to avoid being recorded and then taped, and then the lunchtime he often eat ramen and other like a toshirak, the lunchbox. So I felt like this is the life people like assume here. Oh, they enjoy lots of freedom and then luxury life, but reversely it's not true. It's false information. And then I also mentioned that the information control, the controlling all the information, and Kim Jong Un adopts some limited anti-corruption campaign targeting officials. So the North Korean system, like under Kim and Kim's father, they often describe the officers are corrupt. That's why North Korea can, be a better country. So that, narrative let Kim Jong Un avoid any, fault, any, mis, mis, mischaracterized by the people. So Kim is always, free and respected, and then other fault under the low officials' responsibility. So the conclusion is, I think the future of Kim Jong Un's leadership is Kim Jong Un has effectively used a mix of traditional authoritarian tactics and modern pragmatism to secure his position. However, the challenges like economic strain and growing awareness of the outside world pose potential risks. The regime's success depends on his ability to maintain economic stability and keep foreign influence at bay, as even slight destabilization could impact his control. So I, personally suggest that um, we need to give more information so people like me and other people inside should be informed with the abundant knowledge. And I understand the truth, the power of the truth, and I hope that the North Korean people will understand the power of the truth. So the more information they get, I think they will do a more informed decision. So I will stop here with the Kim Jong-un's leadership, and maybe through Q&A, I will answer more about the North Korea's military alliance with Russia, even like troops in Russia as well. Thank you, Soyeon. Yeah, I know you should go. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me today, and it was great pleasure to speaking with you all. If you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out through my brother. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ms. Lee, for joining us today. And I like to apologize first for the disturbance. Like, we have had so many sessions, we haven't faced this kind of thing till now. I guess some people in North Korea are working right now. So
yeah, I thought like, is it influenced by the North Korean regime, or is it the agent of the North Korean regime to interfere our conference?
yeah, I've like because I'm also like I participate in many sessions on North Korea, and in some sessions I've seen these kind of things happening. But we'll be careful next time. Sorry again
Sure.
from behalf of KRC. So it was a very enlightening session, Mr. Lee. But so as a moderator, I like to take the privilege and ask first question. As you mentioned about this importance, and I can kind of taking from Ms. Lee's the earlier presentation. How do you see the importance of information? Because I'm also doing my PhD and thesis on North Korea's cybersecurity and capabilities, particularly. How do you see the importance of information when we talk about North Korea? Like we talk about nuclear weapons, we talk about right now we're talking about soldiers, but how do you see the importance of kind of having more information and getting that information to North Korean citizens and who are kind of indoctrinated about the outside world, that this is scary world, everyone is going to kill you and all these things. Thank you.
I think the information is the key to change this society, and for like several reasons. Because first of all, the information can change their perception. So we are all brainwashed, indoctrinated for decades, and we don't have information to compare and contrast with North Korean information. So I found out that in North Korea, many people would like to compare their society with other nations, and they want to find out whether their system is the legitimate and in on the right way, right direction, because their life is not good. Like when not like as you know, when they see South Korean drama, watch South Korean drama, and it looks like all they are like doing is okay, and then fancy, lifestyle. But in North Korea, even though North Korean state media emphasize North Korea is the paradise, and then it's a great luck to we have the great leader and the system like a free system, free welfare system. So, but people would like to figure out whether it's true or not. So I think that's the information we should give so that people can compare and contrast. And the reason I'm saying that North Korea actually is free welfare system. It's a free education, no taxes, the free healthcare, and the free housing. But there are many loopholes here. So free education, 12 years, even like the college education is free. But the problem is that the quality of the education is deeply, deeply, unlikely you want to have. It's only like their choices. You don't have choice to choose your the core curriculums. The curriculums are drafted by the regime, and you can choose your major, but still it's mostly likely controlled by the regime. So mostly. sometimes you don't you will be allocated to the major that you don't want to pursue. Only powerful people can choose the major. And healthcare system, you don't have medicine in hospital. You have to prepare medicine, you have to pay the doctors, and you have to bring your medical equipments if you want to get the surgery. So now all the systems are broken. And housing, as I mentioned earlier, this is the strategy for control the population. So, and we are not giving the house. We only got the permission to live in that house. And then once North Korean regime said you have to go up, and then you have to be evacuated from the places. So I think this type of information, like the freedom we have here, like in the U.S., in European countries, in South Korea, the people have freedom to express freely and freedom of movement and the freedom of making lives through the economic system, market economic system. So that type of information, I think, information is the key to change this society.
Yeah, thank you so much for the answer.
Mhm.
Now I like to say that anyone who has any question, please type your question in the chat box. We are not not allowing for asking questions due to paucity of time. So please type your questions in the chat box. I'll follow up with the second question and last question from my side, Mr. Lee. You mentioned about the first time when North Korea has decided to send its soldiers to Russia. Can you please expand on the importance of this development? Because earlier there were a lot of misinformation. US was not confirming, but right now we have seen even NATO and US and European countries have confirmed that they are indeed North Korean troops. Like, how do you see the development of the deployment of North Korean troops in Russia for a country which has traditionally practiced an isolationist policy?
Yeah, so the main purpose for sending troops, the North Korean regime's main purpose is Kim Jong Un would like to secure funding. So each soldier get paid $2,000 per month, based on the South Korean media's report. So it's 10,000 soldiers. There's some fair amount of money Kim Jong Un can get every month. So that's the one reason. But most importantly, I think Kim Jong Un would like to get the advanced military technology like ICBM technology and SLBM, the submarine launch ballistic missile technology, and then also like a drone technology and missile technology. I mean the middle range missile technology as well. So all the technology he couldn't get from China and Russia in the past, and then now he would like to access the highest advanced technology, through Putin's support. That's the key. The reason I think is Kim Jong Un would like to have their troops to be trained and get real combat experience. And Kim Jong Un's goal is to unify Korea by force, which I described the Kim Jong Un style, and then maybe we can discuss a little bit more. Um, Many people question Kim Jong Un abandoned its unification policy within North Korea, but it's not true. It's Kim Jong Un rephrased the unification term, so he demonized South Korea because they are not our nation. They are the enemy. So keep him legitimacy to invade South Korea. So that's another reason Kim Jong Un would like his troops to be trained and get the real combat experience. So um, we all know, the media explained the Kim Jong Un already sent 10,000 soldiers in Russia, and they had a first battle on November 4th, and there were some casualties. So I understand, as far as I understand, I know the troops were sent in Russia, the special forces from North Korea, the Joint Special Operation Command, uh, is the troop sent the troops in in Russia, and I had a training with them for 6 months in 2004 to 2005, and from that time I realized they're not well trained, and some of them are malnutrition because in North Korea, 1990s, we went through arduous march, Great Famine. So many soldiers were malnutritioned, and even though they distributed food, and then the quality of food, terrible. I was, you know, if you guys ask me to eat again the food, and then I'm not gonna eat again. I cannot eat those food. So throughout the year, I only ate one egg for my birthday, like a military time, and several times for the national holiday, they distributed the meat soup, which is barely meat in there. So that's the nutrition the soldiers get. But I would say the special forces get treated well, a little bit better, but still, they like a lot of food and the meat and the nutrition. So they are not prepared to fight against the real, like trained soldiers. Um, in terms of training, they had no advanced equipment, and they like training with those equipments. So I understand Kim Jong Un gave them training for a year, and they are also having training in Russia about a month or two. But that doesn't give them any leverage in the battlefield, and I assume that lots of soldiers will be killed. Um, yeah, so that's why I would like to advise the Ukraine government, and I also wrote a letter to President Zelensky and made a video, ask my fellow soldiers to seek freedom to defect. So I hope they can adopt, the psychological warfare strategy rather than exchange firepower. So yeah, that's development as so far I know about it, and I don't think North Korean soldiers can make great impact in this war. As I mentioned earlier, this is their first battle, and everything is like training and food and nutrition, and they don't have real motivation to fight. They're not getting paid. Those $2,000 are all directly goes to the Kim Jong Un's bank account, and they don't have real meaning to fight until the death. It's not the fight for their homeland, parents, family members. So they don't have reason to fight until the death. So I assume there will be more defector soldiers, and I hope that the Ukraine government and South Korean government can collaborate to rescue them safely.
Thank you so much for that answer. I guess you have already answered one question, which Ms. Priyanka asked. So I'll go to another question, which is basically about unification. So as you already know, about how North Korea has recent in the last year, like starting this year, had kind of taken a U-turn on the idea of reunification, totally kind of giving up on that. And so, how do you see that this new development of reunification? Do you think that is there any strategic intent behind this change of stance, or how the North Korean citizens would react to this? Like I was just reading about it. They have removed reunification, changed the name of a station, metro station, changed reunification word, removed reunification or unification from the books, even changed public streets number, dark or unification. They have already kind of removed the memory of unification from the North Korean the public psyche. So, what do you think? What is the reason behind it, or is there any strategy, or like, is there any thought behind removing the idea of unification? And how would the North Korean citizen react to that? Because they have been fed this idea of unification since the independence, since 1948.
Yeah. So to be honest, I think North Korean people will be surprised. I mean, that's a big surprise, because for 7 decades, we will educate that the unification by three means. Actually, that was created by Kim Il Sung in 1974. So Kim Il Sung emphasized the unification should be independently, with only our nation and peacefully. So when we said independently means expel all the foreign forces, like including United States. So North Korea stands with the independence unification, which means remove U.S. troops from the Korean Peninsula. And the reason they said that because if U.S. troops were removed from the Korean Peninsula, there was a high chance they can unify Korea by force. So that's their own intent, the original intent. And secondly, they said that peacefully, and they want to give South Korean people misinformation that they don't want to unify Korea by force. So it's kind of strategy they adopted in the past, and also emphasizing with only our nation, and which means that they don't want China's influence, they don't want US's influence on the Korean Peninsula. So Kim Il Sung emphasized, the Korean people should decide unification, not other people, which is, sometimes true, but sometimes the behind the strategy is to expel all the foreign influence. So that's the stance North Korean people kept for a long time. Now Kim Jong Un is reversing everything, and he abandons unification policy. So he emphasized, we don't want a unification with these, enemy. So South Korean people are the enemy of a nation. So um, I think maybe I think if I were Kim Jong Un, I thought like this way. So abandoning unification policy for two main reasons. First of all, Kim Jong Un feels threatened by South Korea. So the South Korea's development and then people in the North Korean citizens are eager to read and watch South Korean material, and the material information distribution in South Korea are very serious problem against the Kim Jong Un regime. So he demonized South Korea and make those people who watch drama and access South Korean information are the criminal. So they criminalize its own citizens who access South Korean information. So that he gave legitimacy to to punish those people. Um, and another reason I think is Kim Jong Un would like to. There is some explanation that in the past we all kept emphasizing that unification without nation, and the South Korean citizens are our nation. They are the people we have to liberate from the imperialists, U.S. imperialists. But they live better than us, and everyone knows that South Korea is a better country now. So Kim Jong Un felt, even inside North Korea, we keep emphasizing they are our like brothers and sisters. And why is the crime? Why is the fault that watching their drama and why we interact with South Korean people a crime? So Kim Jong Un realized that he needs draft a narrative that the South Korean citizens are not our brothers and sisters; they are enemy. So it's more like a Kim Jong Un's lack of understanding, the unification, and also he would like to, provide their own strategy to unify South Korea by force.
I guess that answers Ms. Helena Joshi's question. Another question is from Ms. Swati Muthu. She has asked about, is there any potential for resistance within North Korea, like by using artistic or creative pursuits like poetry, or talking about the repression from states, like we usually see in authoritarian states where citizens try to find means and ways of expressing their dissent against the regime through poetry, poems, cinema, or some ways, some creative ways. Can you talk about that thing? Is there any way?
You mean the creating the cultural products?
Like we see graffitis, pictures, paintings, like that, in that way, anyway.
So that is very unlikely because the information is controlled by the regime, and all the communication devices are controlled by the regime. So we don't have internet, and so we have intranet, but still it's heavily controlled by the regime. So any information slightly or even severe against the regime are prohibited. So I'll give you an example. So in 2004, 5, we actually had like, chat room, like MSN chat room, kind of, you can chat with other students, and there's a connected to intranet. One of my friend, high school friend, he distributed chat that we are going to have a basketball game on Saturday, and he mentioned the location. So please come, and we want to have like university versus university game. So surprisingly, around 100 people joined, and after 3 days, the chat room is shut down. The regime felt that that's the threat. The any event organized, unlike unauthorized organization, is not allowed in the society. So regime felt that might be the threat to the Kim Jong's the control. So I mean Kim family's control. So they shut down the chat room. So like this, for example, you don't have. I mean, there's no platform you can actually distribute and share any kind of the production you produced. And then it was very easy to find out who wrote the poem or like the book. So um, now it's only possible we those defectors and also South Korea and other NGOs put the information to USB and then distribute it. So it's more likely we under the regime's control, like avoiding regime's control to distribute. There is no public distribution.
That's interesting. I was just doing my research while I was writing a paper, and like during the COVID time, I came across this article that even the Central Military Commission meeting was happening on internet. So yeah. So even though it may not be available to the common citizens, but the regime still uses the modern technologies for their own purpose. So thank you for that question. That question that was Swati Muthu. And next question is, I think I'll ask one question from my side, and I'll conclude with Mr. Rahul Sharma's question. You mentioned about reunification. So, like in our institution, and generally in India, we are looking at Indo-Pacific as as the region, this new geographical construct. How do you see the role of North Korea in Indo-Pacific? Because there was recently, because like from my side, I see North Korea role as a spoiler. Like like if tomorrow something happens in South China Sea, like China attacks Taiwan, US need its allies like Japan and South Korea, and in that case, North Korea can actually prove to be a spoiler for US goals or even South Korea. That might divert attention of South Korea and Japan towards kind of countering North Korea's actions. So for yourself, how do you see the role of North Korea, particularly in the context of Indo-Pacific? Like, can you please share your views on that?
I don't think North Korea has like much influence on in the Pacific area, and it's only influencing the surrounding countries, like which are also important, countries in the Pacific area. So in the past, North Korea influences China, South Korea, Japan, and Russia, like that. But now North Korea sent to troops Russia, so North Korea is trying to expand their role in the international stage. Um, but as you mentioned, if China does something against Taiwan, and North Korea highly likely move along with China's movement. So that's kind of geopolitical, geopolitical the activity that China and Russia and North Korea all three together put effort against these the enemies of themselves. So as I mentioned earlier, China don't like the Russia and North Korea's close ties, but the situation benefits China. So if Russia and North Korea keep making noise, and then attract attention from U.S. and then European nations, and China can do something against Taiwan potentially, and then I don't think Europe or the United States want to engage the most of the wars in the world. So maybe China wants North Korea to invade South Korea, and then U.S. can involve in this war. And also, Kim Jong Un may want China to distract U.S. attention from the Korean Peninsula. So I think the Indo-Pacific area could be another big major battlefield in 2 or 3 years. And as a Chinese leader mentioned, 2027 is 100th anniversary of the Chinese military foundation. So he keep emphasizing unification. I mean Taiwan and then the China unification. So it's a highlight likely scenario. But I don't think North Korea's influence over other nations like India and then the Philippines and then the China Sea problems. So North Korea's main focus is the South Korea, and that's all the Kim Jong Un regime wants to control over. So as far as I understand, North Korea and India has fairly good relationship, and actually North Korea sent the cyber IT workers in 2005 and 30 or 50. So now they returned to North Korea and they are all hackers now. So they are generating money for the regime. So actually I helped one defect from African country. So he was an IT guy, and then he went to India in 2005. He spent there more than 3 years, get training. So they hacked like cryptocurrency and other activities. Now he defected. So I was surprised how they went to India.
That's interesting. I need to find that guy for my interview. Thank you so much. So I have just 2 questions because I
Sure.
think for people in India, as you said, North Korea has South Korea in mind. So that's similarly India has also have China in mind. The C word is very popular in India. So and recently when all this thing is happening, the denuclearization between Russia and North Korea, people are still confused about China. Like, what's China's stance on North Korea-Russia relations? How does China sees this thing happening in North Korea having increasing military relations? Also, there's so many of conflicting reports coming out. There's some reports that China is sending North Korean citizens back to North Korea. They're not renewing their visas. Some reports say that China is angry with North Korea leadership. We don't see Chinese ambassador participating in North Korean functions in Pyongyang. Similarly, when there's no the kind of frequency which we see between Russia and North Korea is not seen between China and North Korea. So can you please share like what is the actual state of what is the relation between North Korea and China, like Pyongyang and Beijing right now?
So in the past, as you all know, China and North Korea has really good ties and good relationship. So before Kim Jong Un took office, China actually advised Kim Jong Il to open and reform, and then so Kim Jong Il appoints Jang Song-taek, Kim Jong Un's uncle, as the leader of the reform and open. So what Jang Song-taek was doing for several years from 2009 was to open the society. So Kim Jong Un didn't like it, and Kim Jong Un didn't like China respect Uncle Jang more than him. And so Kim Jong Un killed. There are multiple reasons Kim Jong Un killed his uncle. The money problems between him and Jang and other issues. But the main reason is Kim Jong Un didn't accept the reform and openness. So Kim Jong Un killed him. And as soon as Kim Jong Un killed his uncle, and China was very angry because it means that the Chinese, China's policy for supporting North Korea's reform and openness, absolutely not possible. And Chinese have like Confucius ideas, right? The family members, the respect elderlies, and those ideology is against Kim Jong Un's. Kim Jong Un's, purges against those ideology. So I was in China at the time, and I interacted many, local government officials and business people, and they told me, Kim Jong Un's, once you, you know, put your blood in your hand, and then the blood won't be easily washed. So Kim Jong Un killed his uncle, and many officials and Chinese officials, even like including top leaders, you think Kim Jong Un is this crazy guy, and then he's not a human being. So from that moment, the Chinese leader kept distance from Kim Jong Un. So he invited the South Korean president, 2014, July, I guess, the President Park Geun-hye in China, and he treated her very well. And also, he went to South Korea before the North Korean visit. But normally, in tradition, when Chinese leader become a leader of the China, the Chinese leader visits North Korea first and then South Korea. And that kind of tradition was destroyed. And Kim Jong-un was mad at Xi Jinping because he believes that Xi doesn't respect him. So he even criticized Kim in front of many officials, even cursed him, and gave us order that cut all the business ties and diplomatic ties with China. But what Kim Jong Un didn't realize was North Korean business is 90% reliance on China, and even I felt like Kim Jong Un was crazy because if we do business, he also gave us order that expand business to Russia and then Southeast Asia. But if we do business with South Asia and Russia, first of all, those markets are very small markets. There's nothing we can get profit from. And also the cost, the freight and the distance, and it increases the cost. So there's no benefit doing business with them. So, Kim Jong-un realized lately the money generation, through Russia and other countries is very minimal. So he kind of abandoned that type of order. But what I'm saying is, from that moment, Kim Jong Un had a tense relationship with Xi Jinping, and he haven't met Xi Jinping for 6 years. So only he visited China in 2018 before the Trump-Kim summit. So that's the only reason he visited, for dismantling sanction relief. And if that was the case, and Kim Jong Un, I wouldn't say Kim Jong Un never visited China. So both have really bad relationship to each other. Xi Jinping doesn't like him, and then Kim Jong Un doesn't like him. Yep.
Thank you for that answer, Mr. Lee. I'll conclude with this question. I think that's a appropriate question which we should end the session with. This is by Mr. Rahul Sharma. His question is, how do you see the future of North Korea? And can you, like, particularly under a single, a leader like Kim Jong Un, do you see some change happening in future, or do you think that the status quo will continue for some decades or years?
I hope not. I hope the situation has to be changed. So I think that's why we emphasize information campaign, and then the citizens informed, knowledge and decision. Um, for the real change, we need internal people and also external forces to help them. But we all know the regime change from outside is impossible. And I have exchanged ideas with many people in U.S. and South Korea. None of them are favorable to regime change because U.S. failed to do regime change in many countries, Iraq, Afghanistan, and other. I mean, in the past, the Cuban as well. So um, they're not supporting regime change from outside. But now we have a voice here in U.S. in the former officials, and the U.S. policy is, providing more information to people so that the people inside has to make a informed decision for their lives, not just one regime and one person. So that's the policy and strategy right now, and hopefully, I think we should change very soon. And the troop deployment in Russia could be the a spark inside, because I cannot imagine that if the parents lose their son in the foreign soil and they cannot tolerate, it's not just several thousand, probably like 90% of them will be damaged and lost. So, and it's unfortunate situation, but still I had a hope to the change of the society.
So with this, we comes to an end to the session. Thank you for all your participation and your engaging questions. I would again like to thank our speakers, Mr. and Ms. Lee, and we appreciate your attendance and especially Mr. Lee for finding out time and the weekend and joining us for this thought-provoking session. I hope we get to have you back sooner than later to talk about things in details. And thank you on behalf of Kiasi. I'd like to again apologize to you for that disturbance.
For your answer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lee.